The fate of the Titan submersible that had gone missing on Sunday last weekend when it was on a pre-planned descent to the 1912 Titanic shipwreck underwater with 5 explorers on board, it seems has met a fate similar to that of the big ship. Various countries got together for what was a full-blown rescue effort. Canada, UK, France and the USA were all involved in this massive-scale rescue effort for the missing Titan sub. As the international fleet of surveillance vessels and aircraft forged ahead with search and rescue efforts, each passing second made it less likely that the passengers on the Titan will be found alive, as their oxygen supply was expected to run out by Thursday morning. The US Coast Guard says the missing submersible imploded near the wreckage of the Titanic, killing all 5 people on board. Coast Guard confirmed the same during a news conference last evening, that they've also notified the families of the crew of the Titan, which had been missing for several days. According to the US Coast Guard, the debris found during the search for the vessel was consistent with the catastrophic implosion of the vessel. Let's listen in to what Rear Admiral John Mauger of the 1st Coast Guard District and his crew had to say.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families. On behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families. I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time.
Essentially, we found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event. Shortly thereafter, we found a second smaller debris field. Within that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel.
OceanGate Expeditions said in a statement that all 5 people on board, including company CEO Stockton Rush, are believed to be dead. The company said that they have sadly been lost. The 5 people on board were pilot Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, the company leading the expedition. It also had British adventurer Hamish Harding, Shahzada and Suleiman Dawood, a father and son from a prominent Pakistani family, and French undersea explorer and Titanic expert Paul Henry Nargiole. One of the company's first customers likened a dive he made to the site 2 years ago to a suicide mission.
Today I have to change my meaning. No, it was not safe. 2 years ago I had another meaning, but I know what happened by my dive. I know what happened last year. We know what happened now. It's not a system who is really experienced. It's a platform, it's a flat, it's maybe 3.5 to 4 feet long, 3 feet wide, 3.5 feet. There are 5 people. We are sitting on the bottom. There's no seat. You cannot stand. You cannot stand or stay on your knees. You only sit 10.5 hours in the same situation. You don't have to be afraid to touch other people because our legs are like a crab, like a snake, because it was so small and nothing was comfortable. The temperature up the sea, it was after 50 degrees Celsius. Sorry, I don't know in English. And down we have 4 degrees Celsius. It was very, very cold.
The Titan was estimated to have about 4-day supply of breathable air when it launched Sunday morning in the North Atlantic, but experts have emphasized that it was an imprecise approximation to begin with. On Thursday, the US Coast Guard said an undersea robot sent by a Canadian ship had reached the sea floor, while a French research institute said a deep diving robot with cameras and lights and arms also joined the operation. The speed of implosion of the vessel, experts suggest, was faster than the brain could have even calculated what was happening around a person's body. If one were to imagine what the catastrophic implosion resulted in, well, don't. The sheer pressure and the force of the water at that depth would have been enough to completely evaporate any human body. Authorities had been hoping underwater sounds might help narrow their search, whose coverage area has been expanded to thousands of miles, twice the size of Connecticut, and in waters about 4 kilometers deep. The report of sounds was encouraging to some experts because submarine crews unable to communicate with the surface are taught to bang on the submersible's hull to be detected by sonar. But good news was not to follow. The doomed ocean liner Titanic continues to intrigue the public after more than a century. The 5 people aboard the missing deep-sea submersible Titan are not the first to risk their lives for a chance to glimpse one of history's most famous shipwrecks. More than a century after the RMS Titanic struck an iceberg and sank in the North Atlantic during its first voyage from Britain to New York, the disaster continues to fascinate people like few other episodes in history. But why are undersea rescues so difficult? And why do people spend so much money on these excursions is beyond my understanding, and a debate for another day. But this treacherous ordeal has forced mariners and oceanographers and researchers alike to ask the question of why there is no concrete study behind the making of such submersibles, why no classified material from which a submersible can be constructed, and why this high-risk touring sector is working in the grey area. It certainly has highlighted the dangers and unknowns of the deep-sea tourism. Our thoughts and prayers with the family members of all those on board the ill-fated submersible. Thank you for watching News9 Live.